You came to us through one of our advertisements on the private members Facebook group of the Auto Sales Academy. So thank you so much for being a valued member there. Now have migrated over to the inner circle of the Auto Dealership Academy, which is really great. And share with everybody, if you would kindly, Chandler, number one, how many automobiles you sell on average per month now, the region that you're in, the state that you are in, and yeah, your background. What's your story? How did you fall in love with automobile sales? How did you get here?
Absolutely. So right now I'm averaging about 20 a month. Some months are higher, some months are maybe right at 20, maybe underneath 20. But within the last 3 months, there's only been one month that wasn't 20, and that was February. But February's rough. I'm in Virginia, so it's Newport News area. And so we're in the East Coast. And then background was actually military. I was Air Force for 10 years. I got out in 2022. And what brought me to the automobile was just I've always loved cars. I've always loved Toyota, and I always got in trouble for talking. So it brought me to Pearson Toyota, and I've been there ever since. It was a month after I got out of the service. Been there ever since. So February 2022 till present.
Good for you. Outstanding. Now, what was it like that first or second day coming out of the military? And I can only imagine. I have never had a military background. I have a friend who's a captain in the military, and I milk him all the time for stories he did. 3 tours in Iraq. He was oh gosh, where was he stationed? He was stationed on a little island, I think in Mykonos in Greece for an entire year, which was a bummer. We did a big send off for him. His kids were in elementary school. We met that way. Our kids and his kids were playing together, and we've become really good buddies. And I'm just floored. And we should know this as civilians, but I am so floored and enamored with the systems that you guys have, the checks and the balances. And we see it on the silver screen with Hollywood and Tom Cruise and Top Gun, right? And they're going through their checks every single time. And to the average ordinary individual, civilian, it's like, you did that yesterday. Like we're flying these planes every day. Can't we just assume that the landing gear is going to go up and down and the jet's going to fire when we need it? And what was it like for you leaving that very structured, organized world? And is the car business structured and organized? Is that why you went there?
Well, when I got out, of course, it's scary, putting a whole decade into something, and I guess you imagine, oh, it's going to be very similar. It's going to be structured. It's just going to be an easy breezy, just get into it. It is not. And that's not just car sales, that's everything. But going into car sales, I thought, oh, this is going to be a breeze. They're going to tell me, okay, Chandler, at 7 o'clock, you're going to call some customers, and at 8 o'clock, you're going to stand outside and grab. I thought it was going to be like that. It wasn't. I get there and they say, okay, study for your license. When you're done with that, just sit around and wait. And when I got my license, what do I do now? I'll grab a customer, show them a car. Okay, so there was no structure. Everybody's very busy, so they don't have time to sit and train each person diligently. They're getting better now, but when I went through, it was just dog eat dog. Just go out there and try to survive. But I was really running full sprint for the longest time. That's actually what brought me to the six-figure manifesto. Easier way. It can't just be chaos all the time.
There needs to be checklists, there needs to be forms, there needs to be a system, there needs to be a cheat sheet, right? For lack of a better term, the activities. I struggled so hard to put together just 8 activities. I've heard that there's 14 steps to the sale. I've heard there's 20 steps to the sale. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I've been where you are, graduated university, came into the car business thinking second greatest financial decision that people make in their lives. This has to be orchestrated. This has to be planned. And same sort of thing. I remember the sales manager saying, Bill, always remember this: doctors, dentists, lawyers, engineers, teachers, professors, housewives, um, some entrepreneurs, and he had two or three more, like over 13 people don't buy cars. And I'm sitting here, I'm brand new, fresh out of college, and this was my dream job. Like I really wanted to do this. I'm like, well, if 13 people of those careers don't buy cars, who does? And that's what stimulated all of it, because I had that one horrible month there where oh my gosh, just couldn't close the broadside of a barn door. And in the end, it was it was systematizing and following the steps. And so those 8 activities of product presentation, demonstration, trade appraisal, leading to purchase consultation just made so much sense. And then when I made it cellular, do you find the cellular concept better?
So because everybody's different, it helps. It's in the back of my head. I'm going, okay, this person wants to sit and talk numbers. This person wants to see, can I afford it before I test drive it? This person goes, I don't care about any of that. I can afford whatever I want. Get me in the car and let me see if I like it. So, and a lot of people won't tell you what they want. They kind of gravitate. So if you do try to lead them in a direction of, hey, let's see what your trade is worth. Sometimes they're like, yeah, I know it's worth something. Let's see if I like the car, or let's see if I can afford it before I fall in love with it. System is a little bit better because it's it because I believe that yes, you need a structure, but not everybody is A, B, C, D. Some people are Z and then B and then A and.
Good for you. Great. Take us back to those first few days when you were thrown on the floor, where you really felt maybe after a week of not selling an automobile. If you sold an automobile in your first couple of days, good for you, by the way. That's fantastic. But for those watching that are struggling with that, they've been thrown on the floor to sink or swim. They haven't got the support that they desperately want and need. They feel like they're competing with colleagues. Certainly didn't feel and don't feel like every shopper is a buyer. Take us back to those days, if you possibly can. Like, what did you say? How did the deal start?
Oh,
And when did you realize that, okay, I need some structure here?
Oh, it was immediate. So I had looked up every video known to man. I'd looked up Reddit posts about how is it in car sales. I was like, I got this. It's gonna be easy. I came prepared. Not at all. Uh the first customer that I remember, because I'm everything else was just a, you know, traumatic event. But the person I remember, they walked up to me and they said, well, my wife is looking for a vehicle, either a Forerunner or a Highlander, and then, but I'm not buying today. I'm just looking, and I was like, oh, okay, okay, just looking, no problem, no problem, that's okay. And then I started asking some questions, and then we get to the negotiation table, and uh, they start going off about how it's almost as much as a new one, and I had no idea what to do, so. Little old me is running back and forth every single deal for the first like 2 months, back and forth to the sales desk. Just what do I do? What do I do? Oh my God, everything's on fire. There was zero structure. There was zero
Everything's on
confidence.
fire. I know that feeling so
Yeah, I
well.
went from a confident Air Force military personnel, because you've seen how direct they can be, to wow, I don't think this is for me. I love this, but I got to figure it out. And a lot of people were saying, Chandler, you just need to build your confidence and you need to figure out what you're doing. I had zero product knowledge, basically nothing. I just decided to throw myself out there. And that's not the way to do it. Learn from me. Don't just jump out there. You need some structure and you need to learn your product. You basically need a system. You need to do it right.
Good for you. It comes back to that confidence competence loop, doesn't it? So much
Yes.
like the infinity loop. It's like, Chandler, you just need to build your confidence. It's like, yeah, but how do I build my confidence when I have none because I don't know what I'm doing? I need to know
Right.
what I should be doing. And loved your analogy of everything's on fire. And did it feel like anybody was there helping you putting the fires out?
When I absolutely needed it, yes. But I would have to go, hey, I really need to know how to handle this. I really need to know what's going on here. If I didn't do that, they would just go, hey, figure it out and straighten up and fly right. And I'm like, what? This is just what in the world? It was expected for me to just go in there and know it. And I have actually taken that experience and I've molded it with the folks that I have seen promise with. And I say, hey, let's shortcut all this. And I don't go over, what I've learned. I don't want to divulge into that, but I go, here's something that will stop you from hitting your head against the wall a million times. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Focus instead on this method and go from there. And I've seen their success too. So it's not just something that I've happened upon and accidentally figured out and it only worked on me. These systems, if done correctly, will work with anybody.
Good for you. Now, I espouse through our weekly classes and our one-on-one coaching sessions. By the way, you've got to book some more one-on-ones.
Yes,
Just
I
a
do.
friendly reminder.
Yes,
Um,
I do.
that it's four pillars. The success of selling automobiles hinges on the four pillars, and that's prospects as well as product presentations and then closing and negotiation. And I beat up our industry with 90%, 99% of sales trainers talk about the two things that are great, negotiate and closing. But if you don't have any prospects and you can't do a decent presentation, you're sunk. And you touched on
Hmm.
the fact that not everybody needs a data dump and a full 60 feature benefit presentation that we facilitate through the program, but we also share with you based on those four behavior buyer profiles that you touched on seconds ago. Not everybody's the same. You've got to tailor your presentation appropriately. To sell 20 cars a month, how much prospecting do you need to do, Chandler?
So if you look at industry average, 30% is the average. So you need 60 people to actually put in your CRM. Don't forget that. Put them in the CRM, talk to them, go through the whole process as much as you can. But I found that I haven't tracked it lately, but industry average is 30%. So you need at least 60% until you start getting really good. And then let's say it's 40% is top of the line, but uh, typically you're going to need 60 to 100 people in order to average over 20 or 20 over. So it's not just something where I talk to 20 people and I get 20 deals. That's a pipe dream. Even at the best levels, it still is going to require work. But you can put a lot less. Uh, you can put in the right work smarter, not harder, doing it the right way by just tracking what you're doing. You go, okay, so I've put five people in the showroom. I've gotten to the three pencils. I've done this. I've done this. You have to actually keep track of that and go, okay, so I've talked to 40 people. I've got 20 more people for the month. Let's see if I can beat that. Let's try to get over 20. Just even if you think, oh man, I'm only at six and I've already talked to 15 people. Well, who knows? Maybe the next, you know, other people you talk to are gonna want what you have. So,
Good.
just follow that process and but I would say about 60 people they get 20. So, and it gets better over time, but that's where you should start.
Good for you. Dynamite. Now, your store has a lot of walk-in traffic, doesn't it? You guys do a great job of advertising and driving traffic to the showroom.
Yeah, it's February was a little tough for everybody, but we have seen the first day of March till now. We're getting so many customers. We actually looked at it last week. We had 70 people come into our showroom in 1 week. And that means everybody got about 14 to 15 people per person. That's what's logged. But everybody got at least 14 people that actually sat down, put them in the system, went over everything. So we were getting a ton of traffic, especially with the good weather.
Good for you. I like the comment. That's what's logged. Because the average ordinary salesperson that doesn't have a system, that doesn't believe that everyone's a shopper, doesn't log a few of them, right? Because that could open a can of worms and the boss could see that, hey, I saw you were busy with some people there. Like, what happened? It's like, oh yeah, no, they were coming out of service, or yeah, they dropped somebody off at the mall and they were killing some time and kind of wandered through. Good for you. Now, we had a great coaching call, and oh my gosh, we've had several in January, several in February, but we had one in particular. You were struggling with dominant, assertive type buyers. So we would call those
Mhm.
the A types. They're the upper left-hand corner of the quadrant. And we went through some skills in order to make that better. And then I think it was that afternoon you messaged me or you text me or that evening, hey, just want to let you know, implemented the tactic on those assertive aggressives, sold the car. I was like, hey, fantastic, incredible. And then the next day you said, hey, I implemented those tactics, sold three in one day. So a hat trick. It was like Chandler, take us through that. This is
Yeah.
dreamland for a sales consultant where they could get a conversation, a half an hour coaching call, and get those tactics right away to generate results. Take us through that.
Sure, absolutely. So, the dominant assertive was actually the second most difficult. It was, not as tough. The first one was the analytical or the
Enthusiast, the
enthusiast, yes.
conscientious.
So the reason why enthusiast was so tough to me is because it's my polar opposite, and there's nothing wrong with either of the four. But mine is people person, bubbly, just let's get along, let's be friends, puppy dog, golden retriever.
Yeah, when you
Well,
go across the axis, you don't get along,
yeah,
right? You're over here and they're over here, and you're going across the axis.
yes, it's polar opposite, and they don't care about how polite you are, how friendly you are. They say, "Yeah, that's great." They're almost like the dominant, but with research. But they're like, "That's great, but I don't know anything about the car. Why should I buy this? I'm looking at a Subaru. I'm looking at this, looking at this." I was like, "How in the world do you communicate?" And it's not that they're bad people to talk to. They're great. You just have to speak their language. Well, I was struggling with that, and I sat down with you and I said, I'm on fire again. What do I do, Bill? And you said, okay, well, here's what we do. And you broke it down for me. And I was able to take that information, and the key point is paying attention and making notes. Take that information. And you also mentioned sometimes we're not a buyer to begin with. So, yeah, assuming the sale is great. Sometimes people just are not going to buy. They are too skittish or whatever it is. But uh, a lot of times the that type of person will buy if you give them the right things, you answer their questions, you go over the important things, basically just asking the right questions, presenting it and not expecting them to do it right now. They're going to go home, they're going to look at it, they're going to come back and they're going to go, "Oh man, you know what? You were right. I do get more excited the more I look at the RAV4. This is amazing." So, yeah, you're right. But I sat with you. It was a 30-minute call to an hour maybe. And the number one thing that I've been struggling with for over a year, you were able to go, hey, let's try doing it the right way. And it just opened up the doors. And I looked forward to meeting those customers. So where's the next one? And as soon as I found one, I was able to sell them automobiles and I got a hat trick. And that's where I was able to I was able to kind of wade through the waters of the other three. With that one, you're talking about 25%. Shoot, that may open up 5 or 6 deals a month if you're able to help them get it. And they feel, wow, someone speaks my language, and I'm tired of beating my head against the wall every time I go to a car dealership.
Excellent, dynamite. You're right. It's a 30-minute coaching call every single time, but I book an hour for you folks. And then if it goes over and I find that we are just not at conclusion, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. You're not lying on the couch. I'm not trying to get on to the next 30-minute person because that's how the ticker works. I know that if we don't have it drawn to conclusion and you can't walk away from that call going, okay, I got some of what I needed. but I
Hmm.
still haven't got it put together. I make sure that we bring it to conclusion. You're right. That was an hour. That may have even trickled over. You and I like to talk, and it's so much fun when we get to talking, and it just
Well,
goes on.
Well, I've also noticed that with the system and with how we communicate, sometimes we communicate a little bit differently, just like my wife and I. Well, I was like, okay, well, I'm getting the general idea, but I'm not exactly understanding this. And I asked it a few times, and then finally you explained it in a way where I was like, aha, okay. So we just communicate differently, just like customers. So when you gave me the third rendition of what it was, it clicked, and I said, "Ah, there it is. That's how to do it." And I made my notes and tried it out, and it worked. So some people would assume, "Oh, well, I don't understand what he's saying. It doesn't make sense." Well, you've got to ask it in a different way and clarify, just like with the custom. So once you get clarification, then you're able to implement it and go, "Oh man, now I'm not wading in the water. Now I'm swimming. This is amazing."
Fantastic. Good for you. Well, Chandler, this has been great. I could go on at Land's End and we could keep going with this podcast. I know you've got your day to get back to. We'll do this again. Unquestionably, we'll do this again. I can't wait till you have your double hat trick in one day. You must notify everybody in the group and me especially, and then
Oh yeah.
plan on a podcast. I'm gonna reach out to you like, Chandler, how'd you do six in one day? That's just
Oh yeah.
magnificent. Good for you. Well, thank you so much. Any words of wisdom that you've got for people, motivation, encouragement, and just a belief that you can do this kind of thing.
Absolutely. So a lot of the time people will start having issues, and then once they're having issues, they decide to reach out. And I'm bad about that. What you got to do is you got to go, how do I plug the hole before it starts leaking? Well, you got to book a call. You got to do the system. You got to do it right. And you have to, if there's any time to struggle, you just reach out, whether it's to you or to someone else in the business. Just sit down and go, hey, things aren't right. Things are going down. Things are getting bad, and this is what's going on. And sometimes it's just shortcutting the process. But my words of wisdom is in life or in this business or whatever, if you are having a tough time, reach out because some people have been through it. And sometimes it's a simple solution as, oh, well, you are just missing the steps or you are overthinking it or whatever, So my word of wisdom is just don't let yourself get to despair. If you've noticed yourself start to slip in success in your life, reach out to somebody. And especially if it's car sales, reach out to Bill and go, hey, life's normally great. Right now it's not. I don't want to have a bad month and it's the 15th. What do I do? So
Good for
that's what I would
you.
suggest.
Good for you. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. You couldn't be more accurate. And this is the purpose for online teaching and training and having the community of private members Facebook group. Unquestionably, reach out. Don't wait until the end of the month or the third day, like the 27th, when that month ends on the 30th, like this month, or the 28th, when it ends on the 31st. Don't reach out then and say, I haven't hit my objective. I'm not at my target. How do I sell 12 cars in the next 3 days? That's doable, but that's almost the hardest challenge you could ever present to yourself. And that becomes demotivating. And that's why goals can be the problem, right? But thank you for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, reach out, in the Auto Dealership Academy. We have the community, the private members Facebook group. I will answer your call as quickly as possible or your post, and of course you've got everybody else in that group, and that's the really tiny one. The Auto Sales Academy is the great big one, and it's great to belong to that one and ask your questions and get a feel for who we all are. And those are just automobile salespeople, managers, and owners. I'm very strict on who goes into that group. Turn away a lot of people who would like to be a part, but I don't want customers in there. I don't want anybody in there that isn't in our world, so that we can all
Mm.
benefit by that community and reaching out. Thanks, Chandler. This has been magnificent. Have a wonderful day. Say hi to your wife and your little one for me, and all the best selling this month. You're on track to do 20 or 20 plus this month. Where are we at?
Oh yeah, so I'm at 10 and a half, which going back last year, April for the whole month, I did 10 and a half. So uh, I have done, I'm already like, no matter what I do, it's gravy on top, but I'm on pace to hit over 20 if I just keep following the process, doing the right thing. And if I look back the last few months, all the numbers combined, averaging 20 every month this month or this year. So 4 months in, averaging 20 every single month. So there is no uh, bad month, slow time, whatever. It's all in your head. You can prospect anytime, but and also, I want to go back to the thing, what I said earlier. In February, if I had reached out to you when I first noticed things were getting a little tough, I, yes, I did do better. I went from like 8 to 16 since we had talked, but I would have done over 20 if I had just reached out earlier and figured out how to solve that thing. But yeah, you can definitely achieve over 20 within a very short amount of time doing it right.
Fantastic. Good for you. Thanks for joining me, Chandler. This has been great. Have a magnificent day, and we will see you Thursday at 10 o'clock for our regular class schedule. And if you can't make it, you get pulled away by a customer, not to worry, that's recorded. So you'll be able to catch up on it later on and book that one-on-one. Let's get connected. Make sure that, well, let's get you into the 30s. You're at the 20s. Let's
Yeah.
let's let's aim for that 30 mark. Thanks
Oh,
again,
yeah.
Chandler. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.